Okay, I'm in Cloncurry at the moment that I'm looking at core from near Evening Star, which is one of the targets that I had suggested in an earlier report for Ausmex. And this is core that's showing very beautiful potassic alteration together with pyrite. And adjacent to this core, there's some intersections of chalcopyrite bearing material, which is a copper sulfide bearing ore. This is very exciting because the textures that are present in this core look very, very similar to some of the potassic feldspar alteration textures that have been reported from Prominent Hill and Carapatina in South Australia, which are two IOCG systems that are very rich in copper and gold. You can see in the core here the reddish to orange material. That's potassium feldspar alteration, and that's pyrite. And in IOCG systems, where you find an association of potassium feldspar alteration and pyrite, it means you're pretty close to the major mineralization zone within the body. And so we have great expectations at Evening Star that with continued drilling, we will intersect some more mineralization that is richer in chalcopyrite. Initial indications are that we are presently in a zone that is gold rich, and there is a core from here over here, shows a texture that we call epithermal texture, and that is indicative of a very high level position within the mineralization system. So that'll be gold rich. As we get deeper in the system, we expect to increase the copper content, and so we'll have a copper gold concentration within the mineralization. This vein through here is a quartz rich vein that's an open cavity, and one only gets that type of texture at a high crustal level. In other words, not too far below the present surface of the Earth. So that's indicating that this area at Evening Star was very close to the Earth's surface when the igneous intrusion that produced the metals in the IOCG systems in the Cloncurry belt was intruded. And so we're in a prime position at the Evening Star locality for intersecting deeper mineralization rich in copper and gold. This is another example of one of the rocks that's close to the zone where we find the open cavity filling, and this is a vein of pyrrhotite, an iron sulfide. We're waiting for the analyses to be returned for these materials, because quite often the pyrrhotite may be gold rich or cobalt rich or nickel rich, and we're still waiting for those results to be returned. But there is a vein of pyrrhotite indicating that there was a high concentration of sulfur in this igneous system, or in this epithermal system. And so the chances are that we are very close to, at deeper levels when we drill, a system that will be enriched in sulfides. In fact, many of the rocks that we're dealing with in this area have quite substantial disseminated chalcopyrite in them. We're still waiting to find the sweet spot where the chalcopyrite has been concentrated. This is an example of one of the core intersections where we get very high concentrations of magnetite with carbonate and a mineral called actinolite. And those minerals are very common in the environments where we find IOCG mineral systems. And so this is a very good evidence that the core that we're taking near Evening Star is probably very close to the target zone that we're striving to intersect. These are what we call vectors for mineralization. So when we see these vectors in the core, we have a very good chance of approaching the mineralization zone. People started to look at rocks when they're examining core, because what we see here is a perfect example of a rock type which we call a tuff. And a tuff is a type of volcanic deposit that is frequently formed by blasting from a caldera, which is the vent of the volcano. So the presence of this in the core from Evening Star tells us that within that area we're very, very close to the volcanic source of the fluids that produce the epithermal mineralization, and also the fluids that have produced and transported the metals from the magma chamber which underlies these volcanic rocks. The discovery that these cores have got tuffs preserved in them is extremely important, because it helps to constrain the timing of mineralization and potentially the source of mineralization. Now, in the Cloncurry area, there are very large igneous intrusions which were intruded after the major deformation that produced the metamorphism in the Mount Isa block. These tuffs are potentially